welcome to the Racing Nuggets podcast. I'm PJ Noodleman, joined by my co-host at large. It's Mr. Dan Plan from the Midwest Racing Connection. Hey, Dan, thanks for coming in this week. We're going to have a good one tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to Rich again. Always enjoy that. Been a while since I did one of these, so looking forward to it.
Been a while since I've done one too. Let's be honest. I've been a bit busy. But yes, our guest today is Rich Bickle, first two-time guest on the Racing Nuggets podcast. Welcome back.
Well, that's a privilege.
Well, you've got a big event coming up at Jefferson Speedway on July the 19th. It's going to be a Saturday night. It's the Barnyard to the Brickyard 150. It's a pair of 75-lap features, super late models. And that's a pretty cool way to honor. Isn't that the first track that you ever raced at?
Yeah. I say it's 76, but John put 77 in the book. Augie Picaro took off on his wife and three kids to Colorado with some other woman. And me and his oldest son went up and stole his car to the barn. And we went down their yard, painted yellow and put a red number 5 on it like my dad's car was. And we went to Jefferson. And I was 15, no driver's license, but I grew up at the racetrack, and nobody had a clue. I had hair out to here. Nobody had a clue that I didn't have a driver's license. Nobody asked. And I went out there, and I'm sure we practiced a few laps. I don't remember how many. And I remember leading the first 6 laps of the heat race, and Denny Bant Jr., which his dad raced against my dad, got underneath me off a turn 2 and got loose. Hit me in the door and knocked me off the back straightaway in the cornfield because there was no walls back then. And it augured in so hard, it bent the car in half, broke the roll cage off, and knocked the transmission out of it. And I tell people, I said, you could almost stand up and change both rear tires because it was augured in straight from the ground.
Wow.
So wow. I think the car made maybe 12, 15 laps. But that's how it got started, stealing a car out of a barn.
That's awesome. And yours is a great story. And by the way, that night, Saturday, July 19th at Jefferson, you're coming locked and loaded with a lot of good stuff for folks to get their hands on.
Well, yeah, me and John talked about this, and I really got to thank Terry Tucker for putting this together because, to have me come back almost 50 years later, 49 years later to where I first started, I got some more books this sign. I'm getting a couple hundred of them to bring along. And we got a one-off postcard that's John and Raina put together. That's just amazing. That's kind of shows my whole career and how it started with that car. I never knew there was a picture of that car until John took all my mom's stuff and went through it. And I would have never bet in a million years somebody took a picture of me driving that car. It's kind of ironic. I'm sitting in it, my head's above the roll cage because the seat was so small for him that I really didn't fit in it. But I had my motocross helmet and my motocross suit on. So, you look back at that, you just kind of laugh. But besides that, we're bringing the Brickyard hauler car, 29 Ford Roadster pickup truck that I built off a drawing because it's a yellow number 5. And this guy drew this thing, and with, being from the barnyard to the Brickyard, being in the inaugural Brickyard, this guy drew this 29 Ford Roadster pickup truck and said Brickyard hauler. So I had to build it. So we're bringing that to carry the national flag around. And then I'm going to bring some, I'm not sure what I'm bringing for sure, but there'll be some interesting stuff. Maybe a helmet, a suit, maybe a trophy that I have left, maybe, or something like that, or whatever I find. I still have one through my mom's stuff, and that's been 13 years ago. So I'm going to dig through that when I go in the shop next week and see what I got laying around. And there'll be some pretty cool giveaways.
Your mom was like your number one fan, wasn't she?
Well, you look back at it, I had probably 5 or 6 moms. I had her and Ma Deary and Bev Olson, Sandy Swartout, Sandy Ziegler. They all, we all grew up together, the kids, and we all raised hell. But my mom was, like I tell everybody, me and my dad were pretty good steering wheel holders, but my mom was the racer. She won powder puffs, stuff like that. But as far as racing, there's only 2 things in her world was work and racing. She worked double shifts at Dana Corporation 7 days a week during the wintertime. And she worked double shifts constantly, even through the summertime, except when it was time to go to the racetrack. She was, it's crazy how much she worked, but racing was her deal.
That's awesome.
Did you get to race much with your dad, or had he pretty much wrapped things up by the time you got going?
No, I actually I raced with him quite a bit. Um, well, this is kind of crazy. So I ran that car at Jefferson, crashed it, and I don't think I ran anything that year. So the next year, a guy from the Newville gas station quit the guy that he was working for, and that guy had another old Pontiac that was a Jefferson car, and he asked me if I wanted to race it. So I think I was 16 then, and I went up to Jefferson. I think I ran that car 6, 7 times that year. But we went to La Crosse, and we always went up there to party. And I mean, I'll never forget, I was in the pavilion, and I'm pretty well full, and my dad walks in and he's hammered. And my dad never ever seen him drunk. I remember playing cards at a bar one time, and he used to drink peppermint schnapps by the 7-ounce glassfuls. And he ordered another one. Jerry Anderson owned the bar, says, Bick, he says, we have none left. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you've drank 7.5 quarts. We have none left to sell. And he wasn't drunk. I rode home with him that night. I was like 14 or 15, So anyway, we're at La Crosse, and he goes, I've made maybe 7 races in a hobby stock at Jefferson. He goes, I'm going to be sick tomorrow. You're going to drive my late model. Like, well, drive your late. I thought he was just, full of beans, And so the next day, I remember I'm underneath the car, changing the ran gear and stuff like that. And he goes, you're driving. I mean, you got to think about this. Going from Jefferson to La Crosse at that age was like going to Daytona. And people have no idea that was the first time I drove a super late model, would have been at La Crosse. So I remember we practiced, and I mean, I don't remember how I was or if any good at it or whatever. But anyway, back in the day, when you're learning, you started last row, the heat race. Well, I'll never forget, I'm sitting against the inside wall across, and I hear this squeal come off of turn 4, and this car stopped at the start-finish line and gets T-boned. It was Rocky Breezer when he got his leg cut off.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sitting there crapping my pants going, oh boy, what do you do? And so I remember, they got that all cleaned up. They finished that race, and we go out there and they drop the green, and them guys drive away from me like I'm on jack stands. And I told myself, you got to do better than this. Well, I don't know how or why, but I caught the pack. I passed 3 or 4 cars. I missed making the feature by 1 spot. And I'm like going, man, this isn't that hard. I can do this. And so the next day we had the semi-feature one. And my dad had like a 71 2.3 Camaro, but he had a Ford hood scoop on it. And the nuts come off on the one side of the hood scoop, and the hood scoop was flopping. And they black flagged me. And I was madder than hell. So anyway, so that's how I, raced started racing, and we raced my dad. So, but my first race with my dad was at Madison, actually, in 1980, when I had my Rockford Rules car. We run Rockford on Saturday night, Lake Geneva on Sunday with cast iron exhaust and the Mickey Thompson tires. When you go to Madison, we'd race, Friday night in the super late model. But I mean, I wasn't very fast because, I had cast iron, basically a stock motor. And anyway, I started towards the front of the semi, and my dad just missed the feature. So he started like last. Well, I think it was 15 laps back then. Well, I mean, I'm way out front because my car handled unbelievable. That year I won 23 semi features. So anyway, I look in my mirror, and here comes that white car. I'm going, oh boy. He had a white Granada back then. And they got the white flag, and we come off at turn 2, and he gets underneath me, and I just pinch him down in the infield, and I won the race. And I'm thinking, yay. And I got thinking, oh boy, this ain't going to be good. So I'll never forget, we're going on the back straightaway, and he pulls up beside me, and he's sitting there revving his motor up. Of course, I got cast iron exhaust, sounds like I got mufflers on, but you could hear his motor, And I finally went, oh boy. I looked over, and I thought he was just ready to kill me, and he had a big smile on his face. Going, this is good, because I didn't want to go in the pits and fight with him again. Because when he poured concrete back in the day, he was like grabbing Tony Tiger by the tail. Because me and him got in a couple knockdown dragouts through the years, and but that was my first race against my dad. We ran probably maybe 6 or 7 more years. He drove my second car a couple times and things like that, but I think he quit in 1987.
Did you guys always agree on setups, you and your dad, or did you always do your own thing?
No, he kind of told me, well, this is ironic. So Phil Hammer being my crew chief. So Phil and Dennis wanted to go with my dad to the Dells because Joe Ruttman was there with that four-door Maverick back in the day. And my dad asked Phil, we built the 72 Ford Train to race Jefferson. This is 1979. And he says, go with my kid. He goes, well, what do I do? He goes, if the car's loose, you screw in the left rear. If the car's tight, you screw out of the left rear. Well, how will I know that? He goes, if my kid ain't smart enough to tell you if the car's tight or loose, he shouldn't be in a race car. So can you imagine this? How Phil Hammer didn't know nothing about a race car, went with me to Jefferson in 1979, and he ends up being Jeff Gordon's car chief for 3 championships and 1 Cup. I mean,
Wow.
that's hard to even let that sink in. And another kid that went down south with me, Craig Lund, ended up being Earnhardt's tire changer when we won the 500. So it's pretty ironic how I took 2 people from the state of Wisconsin down, and they end up having success, and along with myself and the whole 9 yards. But yeah, setup wise, me and my dad, he taught me how to set caster and camber and do all. He'd show you one time, but that was pretty much it. And then you did what you wanted and what you thought. And when we went to the coilover cars and he didn't have one, when he drove my stuff, I pretty much put in what I normally put in, and he raced it the way it was.
Wow. Did he ever tell you how proud he was of you?
Not to this day.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy. He is, but
Yeah.
but I like I tell people, I just watched the Earnhardt deal the other night, and
Mm.
I was good friends with Dale, and it's amazing how similar his dad was to him, and he was to his kids, as how my dad was with me. And there's a few things on that deal that I learned that I didn't know, but it's just ironic, how I end up talking to him at Slinger and helping him, and he helped me, and it's just the fourth episode was hard to watch. I mean, I was like, pretty tough.
Yeah, I finally watched the Earnhardt deal too, and I think that's a common trait of guys from that era to not to really show their affection towards their children. Um, Going back to your mom though, when you raced against your dad, what I'm seeing more and more now with the people that I grew up racing with have their kids racing, the mom, once the kid starts racing, the mom cheers more for the kid than they do for the dad. Was your mom kind of the same way?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't in the stands.
I would bet she was. I would bet she was.
Well, yeah, one of the greatest stories of my mom is, and so in '94, Mellon called me up to drive for him a little bit, and we went to Brickyard, and we got there, and there's 86 cars there, and his stuff wasn't that good at the time, and it's like, well, and then we drew a terrible draw. We got the heat of the day, but I made a hell of a lap, and I knew I made the race, and so when you come down pit road and you turn into gasoline alley, I'll never forget. She jumped up on the door and she's hanging on the roof rail, just screaming, beating on the roof, And I was like, whew, pretty cool.
That is cool. So cool. Jefferson is obviously, we just talked about where you started, and that's where this big event's going to be coming up on Saturday, July the 19th. That is such a unique track. What do you love the most about Jefferson Speedway?
Well, I really haven't raced it much since they redone it. When I first raced, there was a true oval, and now they, made it and banked more and it changed the end of the racetrack. So it's basically 2 different racetracks. But it's fun. Any racetrack's fun there's a few racetracks. I hate the racetracks like Wausau, Plover, Berlin, where you run half throttle and it's a circle. It just, them places drive you nuts. But Jefferson, you can, it's small, but you still can race hard and you get 2 grooves.
And you need to finesse it, really, too. I mean, I think the ability to finesse is something that dare I say, the more seasoned veterans like yourself are very good at that finesse that is required to get around some of those tricky tracks.
Well, I always tell people, here's a question. I always ask people, what do you think is the most important part of your body besides your brain to drive a race car? And your answer would be what?
The foot.
Yeah. Nobody, you're the only one that's ever got it. It's your feet. It's the brake and gas pedal. It's the everybody can see and steer, but it's your feet to know the gas pedal, the brake pedal. That's what wins races.
Yeah.
It's anybody can drive, turn a steering wheel.
Are you a 2-footer or are
Yeah.
you 1 foot? Yeah.
I was 1 foot in the beginning. That's that my dad told me that's the way it had to be. And then, then I learned that you're better in 2 feet than you are with one.
Yeah.
The
You
thing
got
I
to.
was impressed about first time I went to Jefferson was 92, and that's when it was, flat on 1 and 2 and banked in 3 and 4. And being there for the first time, it reminded me of Raceway Park in Shakopee on one end and Rockford on the other end, because the bottom groove was fast on one end, the top groove was fast on the other end, and made for some good battles.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a great racetrack, and all the events he has there besides the racing. I mean, when his dad owned it, it's been one of the most profitable and great racetracks in the state of Wisconsin for a long time.
For sure. And then you're not racing at Jefferson, but you will be racing the week prior to that at the Slinger Nationals, right?
Yeah, Tony started building a new car last October, November, and I went down last Saturday and we put a seat in it, and I'm like going, there's no way this car's gonna be ready for the Slinger Nationals, because I I know he'll get it done, but we'll be finishing it Monday in the pits, like we built finish the car at the Derby in 21 for the Snowball. But it's a new design that he wanted to build all his own, complete from ground up. I have so much faith in him and what he does. And I said to people, I said, Steve April went 10.99, and back in 21 we ran at 11.10 and just missed the track record. And I said, now this new tire is way faster. If the weather's right, I'm going to run a 10.85. That's my prediction,
Nice.
because that's how much confidence I have in him in this car. If it gets done.
And if it gets done, and I think it will, and you're able to run that, do you plan to run much else the rest of this race season? Coming out of retirement again?
Well, I didn't really retire again, except after I got back in after 2023 at Rockford. So I re-raced like 6 races last year, and we're going to run at least that. If we get out of there in one piece, I need to go run the Wegner race, because that man, kind of made me to a
Carl Wagner, yeah.
yeah. He kind of made me who I am today, one of the three. And I've been working partners with a guy in Florida. We bought a business in Illinois, and he's got some new product out there, and we got a lot of dollars worth of orders. He's refining his process, and if this comes together, and we get some money coming in, I like to run 10, 15 more races this year, and then probably 30 to 40 next year.
Nice. So what are the ones on your really want to do this year, other than the Slinger Nationals and the Wagner race?
Um, well, I'd run some tour races. Go run at the Dells with Albion. End of the year, life for 5 stuff. And we probably go south. The Bickle and the Derby again. But it just depends. Yeah,
Huh.
it gets. I got all my money invested in Costa Rica in this new business deal, so it's kind of hard to scrape extra money together because people have no idea what it costs. I mean, it's $5,000 before I even roll a truck out of the driveway to head towards the racetrack,
Right.
or more.
Yeah, easily.
So,
Not
so
even counting if you have some trouble on the track and have to repair, then there's even more involved.
well, it's like in 21 there. I mean, I had the championship one, and I got hooked in the right rear and bought one out of the ballpark, and I mean, it destroyed that car. I mean, that was uh, I mean, it broke the block in half. It ripped the end out of it, the transmission. I mean, that was $100,000 in a half, 2 seconds.
Mm.
And like I said, but it was like in slow motion. I thought I was going to go to the ballpark and land in Jerry Eckert's holler and kill everybody. And then when I realized I wasn't going to the ballpark and landed on the door, and I'm like, well, I've never been upside down before, and I thought it was a tip over going on the bank. Well, then it flipped back down on the wheels, and the motor's running wide open on the rev limiter. And I'm like, I know my foot's not on the gas pedal, so I shut the motor off, and I get out, and I confronted the guy who hooked me in the right rear at lap 4 for no reason. And we got the car in the pits, and the floor pan was bent up so high that the brake pedal had the gas pedal locked on wide open. Yeah, I mean it. We saved one caliper and 2 hubs and the carburetor and stuff like that, but the rest there was nothing left. It ripped the body. I mean, there was nothing left.
Dang, that is so heartbreaking.
But what makes me mad is that was that car. We made some changes on it. I mean, it's at the Slinger Nationals, the fastest car I ever had in my entire life. I mean, we could lap the field at the Slinger Nationals that year, and we bottomed out qualifying. We come from the back 20th starting spot to 4th and 30 laps, and I mean, I'm not even driving the car, and the yellow come out and the motor shut off. When I started the motor to start the race, the starter and solenoid stayed engaged and ran the battery dead. Never heard of it in my life. And it's like, they never break when they're junk. They only break when they're fat. They will go 5,000 laps. They won't even run out of gas, but when they're that fast, I mean, I legitimately was a half a second fast in the field. That's unheard of. And I mean, I remember getting to 5th, and I slowed down a bunch, and Tony was letting me go, what are you slowing down for? I go, my God, we're at lap 30 and went from 20th to 5th. I'm not even driving this thing. He goes, the hell with them. Blap them. So I remember Bubba Pollard was about a straightaway ahead of me, and like in 6 laps, I caught him and drove by him like he was on jack stands. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then the next week, we finally out-qualified Luke Fenhouse for fast time, and at lap 4 destroyed the car. So this is why I have so much faith in Tony. So I tell people, if you ever remember the show Sanford and Son.
Oh, yeah.
Tony's shop makes Sanford and Son's place look like the White House. So anyway, I had a 2013 Pathfinder sitting down there outside on jack stands for 6 or 7 years. And after we wrecked that car at the Dells, he goes, what about this old Pathfinder? I go, I don't even remember even driving it. And he goes, well, I'm going to look at it because, we needed a Dell Slinger car. So he looks at it. He goes, well, I think I can make it work. I'm going to change the left front suspension, do this. Well, the thing sat outside. I mean, the brake lines are rusted off it. The calipers are junk. The rotors were junk. The cylinders were junk. The Ren was, he had to go through everything, change the left front suspension. And we go up to Dell's, that car, we won the solder race. I never even put tires on. I mean, it took him a day with Scotch-Brite pads to scratch all the rust off the roll cage and the frame. That's how rusty it was.
Wow.
And you tell these stories, they look at you like you're nuts, But yeah, it sat outside under a car cover on jack stands for 6 or 7 years.
Dang. Well, you should tell him that you got to have the car ready so you can run the prelude to the Nationals that Sunday before. That way you can have some shakedown time.
That would be nice.
But it ain't happening.
Well, you never know. He thought we were going to maybe take it to Grundy and just drive it around and make sure the brake lines don't leak and things like that. But yeah, we'll see.
It would be nice for you to be able to shake it down before race day.
Well, Monday is before race day, so.
What would it mean for you to win some of those big crown jewels again this year, like the Nationals or the Derby?
Well, the Nationals, like I said, I didn't run any races in 22. And then when Rockford said they're closing, I had to go run Rockford in the year. And I made my mind, made the decision like the last day, and he didn't have nothing ready. And we brought a car up there. And you set out a car for a year and 3/4, and you're like, well, God, I'm 60. What? At that time, I was 62 years old going, well, it's been a while. You don't know. You don't know when you're going to lose it, right? And I went out and made like 5 laps, and it was like, I just got out of the car. And it's like, I tell people, I don't want to be my hero, Dick Trickle. That was sad to see. At Slinger, I was lapping him, and I know he stuffed me on purpose. And it was like, I wasn't even mad at him, And I usually get pissed off at everybody, but it's like, I felt sorry for him. And so you don't know when that moment comes. So I I told Tony, I said, well, I think we can run two couple more years really hard, and then um but to win a Slinger again, I mean, I think I should have won it 8 or 9 times. I won it 4. Um, would be amazing. We had a really good car at the Derby in 21, and got crashed by Carson. Crashed my car
Mm-hmm.
for no
I
reason.
was there. I was there for that one.
Coming for the white flag, getting the white flag with 1 lap to go, and there's we finished the car in the pits. I mean, that car was 7/8 done. We finished the pits. We didn't get no practice. We qualified crappy, made some changes, went out there, and that car was a rock in the race. And I caught Fredrickson for the lead, and Yellow come out. And his spotter talked to Tony and said, hey, just let us get the start, and, we're all in. And I said, yeah, I had nothing to prove. And what's sad about that is that car was probably 3/10 faster than the field was on Sunday. And we didn't get to race it because of idiots. So,
Well,
and I heard idiot, yeah. Well, there's a lot of them out there nowadays, but unfortunately, some of them get a lot of airtime now because they're doing fairly well. But I heard he's come to Slinger, and we're gonna have a conversation. Let's just put it that way before even anybody gets on the racetrack.
Well, that just makes my heart warm.
I'm pretty much going to tell him, if you get within 1 foot of my race car, you're not going to leave this racetrack without me being in jail. So,
oh my goodness.
He didn't even make any friends. I went to that race they have at St. Louis in the Dome. He didn't make any friends there either.
well, he's not making any friends nowhere, but he's getting all his PR and all his publicity, and everybody's, saying he's Dale Earnhardt. I'm like, don't even put that guy's name even close to Earnhardt's name. I know Earnhardt was a wrecking ball back in the day. I mean, I remember at 2001 at Talladega, he underneath the white line, body slammed me and went from 17th to won the race at Talladega. But Earnhardt was a racer. This kid can go fast. There's no doubt about it. He's got speed, and the car he's driving, but there's zero brain. I mean, he just don't get it. I mean, he's not going to finish many races because he's got everybody in the garage race so pissed off at him that they're just going to wreck him, and he don't understand it. And then he come up to me at Slinger the next year and said, "Oh, I'm sorry for running at the Derby." I'm like, going, "Get out of my trailer," 6 months later, just get away from me. So we'll see.
I'll be sure to hang out in the pits because I'm going to want to be there for that one.
Well, I don't think I hopefully he's smart enough to realize that I'm serious. I mean, even touches the race car, it's going to be problems.
Dang.
And see, at least I have enough balls to tell everybody this ahead of time. Even like Stenhouse said, when we get back home, we're gonna finish this. And so I'm telling everybody right now, there might be some fireworks. Everybody come on up to Slinger. We got a new owner at the racetrack, and I'm sure he'd like to see the stand sold. And this is probably just help the cause.
That's awesome. Well, how about that with Travis Dassow and his wife Kelsey taking over Slinger? That's pretty cool to have a racer own a track like that.
It takes a lot of gumption to do it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fixing the place up, doing a lot of work to it. Let it ride. My buddy works there. He tells me all things that are going on, and we went there for the ASA race. It's just good to see the tradition get from Erickson to Todd to to him to keep the place going, because it is probably the most unique short track in the world.
Yeah, for sure. You actually were on the mic for, I think, last year's Slinger Nationals. You were in the broadcast booth for that. That was kind of enjoyable. Is that something that you would ever consider doing again if you weren't racing?
Maybe I never listened to it. I didn't know if it was good or bad. So I guess thanks for the compliment, because I never went back and listened to it because I didn't, nobody said much, and I thought, well, it must not have been too good. So I didn't know if it's I
I,
guess
I,
maybe I give a different perspective. Maybe I don't know.
yeah, I think when you've got a driver in the booth, that adds a whole different level. Somebody who's been around that track enough to kind of know what's what. I thought you added a lot of good color commentary to it as well too with some of the drivers. I kind of enjoyed a little bit when you threw a little shade on Matt Kenseth, but it was kind of
Yeah,
fun.
I remember distinctly hearing you be part of that broadcast and how much I enjoyed it too, because you didn't sugarcoat stuff, right? You were
Yeah.
the talking head. You were the actual voice of the racer up there, and it was very entertaining.
100%. That's exactly what I would echo there too. So, I mean, if
I've never sugarcoated much.
that and that makes for a good broadcast. It really does. I
Yeah, I
hope
mean, if this whole racing thing don't work out in your career, you could probably look into broadcasting.
exactly.
Yeah, I think I'll probably pass on that.
So, are you still planning, you and Darcy planning to move down to Costa Rica, or is that just going to kind of remain sort of like your vacation away from home for a while?
I think we'll be down there probably full time within a couple of years, and I keep telling her that it's always 2 more years. But still got the businesses up here to sell. My dad's still around. Got to take care of him. And our one project down there is it's not in a rush. We got all the power and the water lines run to everything. The roads are put in, and the curb and stuff's done, and we're waiting for the road to get paved up over the top of the mountain, and it'll increase the value a bunch. So it's kind of just waiting back, and we might start building a house down there shortly, maybe in December, January. Depends how things go, but start the subdivision. We're doing 31 houses, uh,
Wow.
180 acres up top of the mountain. Ocean view, beautiful.
Did you always think that you would be not only racing, but a businessman too? I mean, you got your fingers into a lot of different things business wise.
Um, no, never ever. It's like the strip club business. I would have never in a million years thought I'd be part of that because it's all Jerry Wood's fault. I guess in '97 you come down to Dallas for the truck race, and I guess we went to a establishment, and I guess I said I'd rather make money than spend the money. And 7 years later, he calls me up and he goes, "I found us a location." And I said, "Location for what?" He goes, "Well, don't you remember Dallas in '97?" I go, "No." And so anyway, the kid that worked for me, his brother run the MAL clubs in Charlotte. I went down, sat with this guy on and off for a month, and kind of gave me the ABCs. And we come up and opened it up, and it's been quite lucrative ever since.
Wow. And now
And,
you're getting into a
and
bunch of other business too. You're
yeah,
you're diversifying.
yeah, some good, some bad.
Well, I
But
think that's the sign of a real businessman. I mean, you've got things that maybe don't work out as well, and you learn from it, and then you pivot and you do something else. But it's kind of smart that you've got a lot of different avenues of income working on that.
well, I tell people, I said, I got involved in Panama with a lime farm, and COVID hit, and that eliminated that, so I lost the money on that deal. But I mean, if you don't try, if you don't, you gotta. Not everything's a home run. It's just like these guys that own the racetracks right now. I mean, they canceled some race last week because of the heat. I'm like going, oh my God, that was a normal day in North Carolina. I understand that some of the fans won't show up, but in Wisconsin you get a short window. Um, I I I I was kind of like a lot of people were mad because people I talked to were kind of upset they canceled the race because it's too hot. I mean, you only get 20 weeks basically anyway, and then you get probably 3 or 4 rainouts if you're lucky, and not maybe none. But cancel the race because it's hot out. Um, I'm sorry, but this world's turning into a bunch of wimps.
No argument here.
Yeah, I don't think there's the hardcore fan base like it used to be because I went last week and I mean it was miserable just watching when the sun's in your face, but the crowd definitely wasn't as big as it would have been if it would have been an enjoyable evening.
Well, I mean, but here's the deal. I mean, sometimes the promoters got to take one. That's why I look at it. You know, some days they have gravy and some days they have, they don't. But you still, the races are working their butts off to get the cars ready and come up and do the deal. and then you got a short period in Wisconsin. It ain't like you're racing down south for 9-10 months of the year. So it just kind of frustrating, but I can see it to a point, but another point I really can't.
Yeah.
The last time we had you on here, you were not married yet, and now you are. So we should probably say congratulations to you and Darcy on your wedding.
Well, I thought she was standing behind me, but she's not. But
I just saw her walk out of the
I
room.
saw her walk by too. It made me think about
um,
that. So what's that like being a married man now? Does it change your perspective on anything? Hi, Darce.
after 64 years, I guess I finally hit my head. But so far so good.
Yeah.
I'm not in jail and she's still alive, so things are good.
And she still loves you.
Yes.
Well, most of the time.
Very cool. What are the odds of you building a racetrack down in Costa Rica?
0.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
No, the racetrack will be the 4-wheelers up the mountain and on the roads and stuff like that. That'll be my racetrack down there.
What is the best thing about Costa Rica for you guys?
The people are unbelievable. The weather is amazing. The food's great.
Pool's great.
There's no snow.
Mm.
I tell people, so we're on where we're at, building the house, you're on top of the mountain, we're on the top first edge, and it's like you're living in the jungle. You got animals all around, parrots and toucans and sloths and monkeys, and it's like you're in the zoo in a jungle with waterfalls everywhere. It's kind of picturesque.
Nice. Well, maybe someday Toby will take me on a vacation. That it would have to be outside of race season because he doesn't do shit unless we're outside of race season.
Well, that's pretty much 12 months a year with him, though.
It is anymore. Yeah. I used to laugh because I had friends would be like, well, maybe we can do something after the race season ends. I'm like, it doesn't end anymore.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game now. But
Well, it's, if you guys ever want to come down, the door's open. All you do is bring some beer money. We'll go race some hell.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him. Well, Rich, I appreciate you taking time to chat with us. Congrats on your marriage. And I'm looking forward to Jefferson Speedway, July 19th. I think it's pretty cool. They're going to be paying tribute to you. Limited a number of books that you're going to have there to sign and a bunch of other goodies as well, too. Pretty cool.
The limited thing is the books, anybody can still get books off Amazon like that, but we've got 2,000 new autograph cards that it's a one-off just for this race. So I think that's going to be more of a keepsake than, anything. So, and then Terry's doing some t-shirts for my 1987 Miller car that he showed to sign. So he's doing that. And then like I said, I'm bringing the special stuff to give away, or, I'm not sure what he wants to do with that or how we're going to do that, but that and bringing the hot rods. So it should be pretty cool.
It's going to be a pretty cool night for sure. And again, people can get their tickets in advance if they want to. Otherwise, just show up to the gate Saturday, July the 19th. And of course, they're going to get to see you actually behind the wheel at the Slinger Nationals as well, too, with that brand new car that Tony will hopefully have done by Monday.
Well, race cars are never done. Yeah,
this is true.
That. But if it's 95% done, we'll be pretty good shape.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you at the Nationals, and looking forward to Jefferson to see your night of honor there.
Well, it's great to see you and Dan. Thank God. I'm like I said, it's a privilege, and I was the first one to get to do this twice. That's kind of cool. And what's really cool, Wednesday night I did a deal with the Crier boys in Florida. He's got a podcast. We did that Wednesday night, and it was just over the phone, but I think that went pretty well. So, that's 2 in a week for me. That's kind of unusual.
Nice. Well, and you might end up being our third because I feel like you're always going to have more stories to share. So,
you don't have enough time in the day.
I figured this much. Yeah. Well, all the best to you, and we look forward to seeing you on the track at Slinger and at Jefferson.
And hopefully everybody comes out to both places and put a show on one and drink some beer at the other.